Hello students, today we'll discuss about the part 3 of the chapter 2, Age of Revolution, the growth of nationalism, that is French Revolution. The French Revolution was a watershed event in modern European history that began in 1789 and ended in the late 90s, that is 1993, with the ascent of Napoleon Bonaparte. During this period, French citizens raised and re country's political landscape, uprooting centuries old institutions such as absolute monarchy and the feudal system. The was caused by widespread discontent with the French monarchy and the poor economic policies of King Louis XVI, who met his death by guillotine, as did his wife Marie Antoinette. Although it failed to achieve all of its goals and at times degenerated into a chaotic bloodbath, the French Revolution played a critical role in shaping modern nations by showing the world the power inherent in the will of the people. Social division. French society was built around unequal, unjust social order since the medieval ages. The king was the ruler of the country. French society was mainly divided into three sections called estates. Thus, the society was essentially feudal in nature. The king and his court. The king and his courtiers lived in extreme luxury. Between the extravagance of the court and the misery of the common people was extreme. In 1789, Louis XVI was the king of France. He was so extravagant in his lifestyle that he treated France as his private property. He lived a very luxurious life and owned several palaces. France, under the ancient regime before the French Revolution, divided society into three estates. The first estate, the second estate nobility, and the third estate commoners. The king was considered part of no estate. The first is the clergy. The first estate comprised the entire clergy, traditionally divided into higher and lower clergy. Although there was no formal demarcation between the two categories, the upper clergy were effectively clerical nobility from the families of the second estate. In the time of Louis XVI, every bishop in France was a nobleman, a situation that had not existed before the 18th century. At the other extreme, the loyal clergy, about equally divided between parish priests, monks, and nuns, constituted about 90% of the first estate, which in 1789 numbered around 1,30,000, about 0.5% of the population. Second estate. The second estate was the French nobility and technically, though not in common use, royalty other than the monarch himself, who stood outside of the system of estates. Divided into two nobles that is nobility of the sword. The robe, nobility of the robe. The majesty, royal justice and civil government. The second estate constituted approximately 1.5% of France's population. Under the ancient regime, old rule or old government, the second estate were exempt from the corvée, that is royally forced labor on the roads, and from most other forms of taxation such as the gavili, salt tax, and the most important, the tally, the oldest to their reluctance to reform. Third estate. The third estate comprised all of those who were not members of either of the above and can be divided into two groups, urban and rural, together making up over 90% of France's population. The urban included wage laborers, the rural included free peasants who owned their own land, who could be prosperous, and villeins, means serfs or peasants working on a noble's land. The free peasants paid proportionately high taxes compared to the other estates and were unhappy because they wanted more rights. In addition, the first and second relied on the labor of the third, which made the latter's inferior status all the more glaring. There were an estimated 27 million people in the third estate when the French they had a hard life of physical labor and food shortages. Most were born within this group, part of it too. It was extremely rare for people of this age to make it into another estate. Those who did so managed as a result of either being recognized for their extraordinary bravery in entering religious life. A few commoners were able to marry into the second estate, but this was a rare occurrence. This is the emblem of estates, and